Alright, hey, what's up guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. Today we're going to do a video on how Georgia generates TFLs. I'm going to take you through some information that I learned in studying how Georgia plays defense. That information is out there for all of you to learn as well, and I'm going to show you the things we did in our defense that we took from that clinic to generate tackles for loss. I am back in the classroom now. There you see the shirt tie back in the portable, so a little bit different setting for our videos now, but improvise and adjust, move on. It is what it is, right? Check out some of our partners with Play Fast Football, GameStrat, sideline replay company we use. I've used them at the school I'm currently at, last two schools I've been at. If you're looking for highly reliable, highly affordable, great customer service, GameStrat is the way to go. Dome Hats, which is headwear company we use. Play Fast, every school I've ever coached at, I have always worn Dome Hats, all right? They are into business, they're coaches, they have coached before, they're former players at the University of Florida, so they're players, they're coaches, they understand what we do. Everything is completely customizable. Stock hats suck, make sure you check out Dome. Baker Sports, which provides us with our sideline gear, our spirit packs for our players, our uniforms are distributed by Baker Sports, you know, the coaching gear we wear in practice, fan gear, school stores, things like that. All run through Baker Sports. Make sure you check them out. ModernFB, which is an in-game app that helps, it's software that you use in-game that helps you become a better play caller, right? You can make instant adjustments right away with everything being tagged. You don't have to wait till you get to the sideline. You don't have to read it off a chart and put the information together like you did in the old days. It saves hours and hours of time. It makes you more productive as a play caller. Make sure you check out ModernFB. FlyRouteDrones. If you've seen any of the videos I ever do on Patreon, I like to use a lot of our drone shots when we teach. So I think it's the best teaching tool out there. It's, to me, better than the end zone cam because you don't have to zoom in, zoom out. The drone moves with the ball everywhere you want to go. You keep that same angle all the time. FlyRouteDrones is the nation's leader in drones for athletics, so make sure you check out FlyRouteDrones. Brandtek USA. Company that does a little bit of everything. They made custom Play Fast sneakers for me. They made sublimated items for me, long sleeve pullovers, short sleeve pullovers, 3/4 zip stuff. They also have disinfectants for your locker room, weight room, how to keep it clean, how to keep it fresh. They also have sports drinks, mouth guards. I mean, they do a little bit of everything, so make sure you check out Brandtek USA. Brandtek, and then DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. Thousands of reps without needing a partner, set up right to the racks you currently have in your weight room. If you want to strike violently, you have to practice striking violently. Why not do it where it's a player, a machine, no need to teach somebody how to hold a bag, no need to risk injury, just get in your weight room and get after it, all right? So one of the things I studied last year in the off season was generating tackles for loss, right? And how we could get people, off schedule. How can we get them behind the sticks, right? How can we impact first down? So a lot of the conversations I have with defensive coaches or offensive coaches is if you want to be better on third down, try to be really good on first and second down because your third down percentages go up or down incrementally based on down and distance, right? So if you're on defense and it's always 3rd and 2, your third down numbers are probably going to be really poor. If you can get third down to be 3rd and 6 or more, your third down numbers are probably going to be pretty good, right? So let's focus on what we can do on first and second down. So one of the things that I took, all right, from some of the clinics I studied that Kirby Smart had done, okay, was ways that they studied how to generate TFLs to get people behind the stick, and we're really looking at first down stuff, right? So ideas that I took from them, put them into our package with how we can do this on first down, right? So the first one they talk about is stemming the front. How does stemming the front generate a TFL? If you can get the offense to jump off sides, right, then you can get them behind the sticks. It's already 1st and 15. That is the same as a TFL. Right? Or if you stem the front and screw up their blocking assignments and you can get somebody home, then that also can generate a TFL. But simply stemming the front, all right, and moving and you know, affecting the offensive line and getting them to twitch or move and jump off sides, we're going to generate a TFL. So how did we do that? Well, we would start in our mid front, okay, and we would start in our mid front, and most of the time we would start with the jack from off the ball, okay, and then we would auto stem into our under front. Right, so the jack would make a move call and we would stem into our underfront and the jack would come up on the ball, right? So we would go from our mid look, and even if you had the jack there, it really doesn't matter, and we would stem and we would move the front to where post snap we would be in our underfront, right? So without changing coverage structures behind it, without doing anything that is rep intensive, all we did was we stemmed the front, and we actually built in, for us, when we went from tight, anytime that we called our underfront stuff, it was an auto stem from tight. So we built it in that way that we are going to auto stem from tight so that we didn't have to call a stem, we didn't have to call it for the kids. We auto stem from tight to under every single time, right? So we built stems into our package. That's one of the things that we created that we hadn't done a bunch of in the past. And for us, easiest way to do it was we stem from tight into our underfront, just bump the line away from the jack, either move the jack up onto the ball or just tighten the jack down a little bit, and we ended up in our underfront, right? From our underfront, one of the other things that Georgia talked about was jamming the B-gap bubble, right? So finding a way to give the B-gap, all right, and they talk about it in the clinic they do, especially in like one-back stuff, away from the back, give them the B-gap, right? So give the offense the B-gap where they love to run the ball and then jam and take away that B-gap. So one of the ways that we did it, all right, was with our nickel pressures, okay? And there were two different ways we did it. We did it as a 3 under 3 deep deal. So we would jam the B-gap from our underfront with the end, and then we'd bring the nickel up off the edge. We'd rotate behind the nickel. All right, we'd rotate behind the nickel there, and then depending on what we wanted to do on the backside, if we just said we were bringing a jack, all right, we would just rotate the 3 under 3 deep, right? And the Mike would be the three-hole player, and the Will would be the 2-seam player, especially into the boundary, right? That was one of the ways we could do it. But you jam the open B gap. You give the offense what they want. You give them the open B gap. Usually you try to set that B gap away from the back if you can. And then, especially versus like zone-heavy teams, try and jam that B gap or take that B gap away. One of the ways we built it into our system was with one of our 5-man pressures, right? So we found a way where we could take away the open B gap, especially on first down, give them the B gap to the field, give them what we thought they wanted, jam the B gap and take it away, and then bring the nickel off the edge, okay? If you wanted to do that from just a base scenario, all right, then you could get to a scrape exchange world to where you jam the B gap, or you could even 2 gap, all right, the 5 technique. So get there. I like it better as a stunt though when you're trying to generate a TFL than just a base rule. I know a lot of people play with an open gap inside. They can 2 gap the 5 technique. That's a great way to play football. I'm talking about stunting to take it away to create movement. So give them the B gap where they want, stunt and take the B gap away, and then be ready to play scrape exchange with the inside backer to that side, depending on the type of flow you're getting. Obviously, where your run fits would be the flow, what you're trying to do. If the Mike got a puller that way, he's not going to scrape exchange, right? But getting ready to replace that gap that the end takes away on the jam, all right? If you just wanted in a 1-gap movement, you're just talking about the 5 technique movement, okay, you could do that. Another version of that, all right, that wasn't necessarily jamming the B gap, all right, but it was, for us, it was a version of a creeper pressure where from our tight front, we would end up sending the nickel off the edge, all right, and using it as a 4-man pressure, dropping the jack, but now sending the nickel off the edge because the jack for us was somebody who rushed 90% of the time. So we created a field side creeper, if you want to look at it from a fancy term. All right, to me it's just old school 3-4 defense, and it's kind of nickel swap, whatever you want to call it, however you want to call it. All right, field angle swap. We were just sending the nickel from the field because teams aren't used to that. All right. Because normally we send a jack from the boundary, and now we're finding a way to drop the jack. We're still sending 4, we got 7 in coverage, and we actually generated a few TFLs with the nickel off the edge, because a lot of times, depending on the scheme that the offense was running, for us on film, they didn't always equate the nickel in the count, right? So especially like zone teams or maybe wide zone teams, or however they count, whatever they do to account for that 2-back wide zone, they probably can get it taken care of. But in the scenarios where it worked out for us was when the nickel wasn't counted in, all right, the run game, because for us the jack is normally coming. So now maybe they set it up to where they were trying to get their box count or their ID system to equate for the jack, not the nickel. And now the jack drops and the nickel comes. So we also did it from that kind of creeper world. We jammed a B gap with a 5-man pressure. Then we also did it, all right, with a 4-man pressure from our mid front, dropping the jack, sending the nickel. That was another way that we were able to, all right, generate some tackles for loss for us. All right, and then the other way we did it was we've always, the last couple of years, we've been a hot pressure team. Kirby, when you watch the clinics that Kirby Smart does, he calls it eyes pressure, right? Or things that they've looked at. We call it hot pressure. It's 2 under 3 deep. And from the mid front for us, the way to do it to try to generate TFLs was always to try and get all right, some type of A-gap presence, all right, some type of A-gap presence off the nose, off the movement of the nose, however you want it to do it. All right, so one of the ways we would do it is we would work the nose weak side, okay? We'd bring the mic in that front side A-gap. We'd also bring the nickel off the edge. We'd rotate behind the nickel to where that was a hot player, all right? So this is what you would call the eyes players, right? Hot players, vision and break guys, and then this would be a deep third player with some version of deep thirds behind that, right? So 2 under, 3 deep, aggressively sending 6, and any type of odd structure, all right, a way that you can generate some TFLs is working off the nose, working off movements of plugging off the nose, right? So for us, it might have been a field deal where it was the mic and the nickel coming. There's a couple different ways that we can do it, but it was always better for us on first down to try and generate TFLs with a movement off the nose and an odd front and a backer that plugs off the nose there, right? You're sending 6, you're playing zone coverage behind it, and you are, if it's, no matter where the ball is, you feel like it's a safer version of the coverage. You're being aggressive by sending 6. You're plugging off the nose, so you feel like you got a chance to generate some TFLs, but you also are playing with guys, right, with eyes, or hot players with eyes on the quarterback. So if the ball gets out, we've got a post player, all right? If the ball squirts or gets out, we have vision and break players that can get it on the ground because we're not playing zero. So it was a way that we could be aggressive on first down, trying to generate TFLs, all right? We could send 6 and bring pressure, even if we had them backed up, and let's say they had the ball on their own 15, all right, and we wanted to generate some type of turnover or TFL, but we didn't want to give up 85, or we didn't want to give up the major explosive. 6-man hot deals, especially on first down, were a really good deal for us, right? So in that study last year, just taking a look at in the off season, and I just did a YouTube short on this morning. What you've got to figure out in the off season is what you're trying to study, why you're trying to study it, what is prevalent for you and your team, and what is stuff that's just kind of theory that you'd like to learn more about, right? So in the past, I've always tried to study rip-liz match. We've never played rip-liz match one time. I've never used it as a coverage in my defense, okay? But every year in the offseason, I always try to study it a little bit because it's a theory that I want to learn more. It's something that I want to get better at. But once I study it for my own reasons, okay, I get off of that and I move into the things that I really want to do. I knew we had to generate TFLs. I knew we had to get people behind the sticks. We are small on defense. All right, we're not very big up front. We need movement, we need disguise, and we need to get people behind the chains a little bit so that we could play our deal, right? Our deal is more of a drop 8 coverage deal. Our deal is being multiple on the back end with split field coverages. We need people to throw the ball. We got to get them behind the sticks, all right? If you're small up front or 3 down like we are, people are going to attack you in the run game, multiple tight ends, adding bodies, adding gaps. If it's 2nd and 7, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, they're in the world they want to live in. If we could somehow get them to 2nd and 12 and then kind of take their playbook and cut it down a little bit, and then we can get them into 3rd and 7, we feel good in that world. Now we can get into our 3rd down packages. We can control the down and distance a little bit and what we think we're getting, and now we can use our athletic ability and some of our schemes and structures to protect us. So once like last year, once I got off the rip-liz kick for my own good, then I got into what do we really need to do as a defense, and I got into the Georgia clinics talking about how they generate TFLs, right? And everybody across the country does it, sims and creepers, different looks. All right, maybe you're trying to attack protections on 3rd down, or maybe you're trying to generate TFLs. I wanted to generate TFLs, so I was looking at teams that were either pressuring or doing things to generate those TFLs. So I looked at those Georgia clinics, and I said, you know what, this is what I'm going to sink my teeth into. And stems were new for us. Not new, the theory wasn't new, but I was never a big stem guy. I wanted to line up, make sure we were lined up and play football. If they beat us, they beat us. So we started stemming, all right, which we didn't do a ton of in the past. Jamming the open B gap. We've always had 5-man pressures or ways to stunt that, but I've never really heard it. I know as an offensive guy that the B gap bubble is where a lot of the RPOs occur, and how teams want to attack the open B gap bubble, and spread teams like to live in the open B gap bubble. But I had never heard it from giving the B gap away from the back and then jamming the B gap to affect certain schemes the way that Kirby Smart had presented it. So I always tried to make sure that I could come up with, for us in our underfront, jamming the B gap, bringing the nickel off the edge, right, and trying to generate TFLs that way. And then 6-man hot pressures, what Kirby calls eyes pressures. We've been running those for 12, 15 years now, however long. The first time I learned it from Michigan State. We've been running those for a long time. Used them more on first downs than I ever have in the past because it was, in the clinic, very obvious that that's a safe way to generate TFLs. I had never really studied it that way. I studied it, all right, as a way to generate pressure or a way to get after the quarterback while still playing zone stuff behind it. Then I started to look at it as more of a rundown pressure, early down, first down deal. Gap sound, try to generate TFLs, all right, and try to make sure that we are doing things that are difficult on the offense while being really sound and disciplined and safe behind that, right? So it's not a zero blitz, it's not a house blitz, not a max blitz, just a gapped out six-man pressure, usually better out of odd front, trying to get a plug off the nose to generate some of those TFLs, right, and get people behind the stick. So hopefully this helps you guys out. I know I've done a TFL video before. This video is more specific to the short that I did this morning, talking about how you can take information that you're studying, all right, and determine what is for me to learn, like Rip Liz. That's a theory that I've always been intrigued with, but I don't play it. And then where do I draw the line to say, hey, this is the actual ball that I need to work on. This is what we need to do to get better next season. As I approach the spring and the summer, that's where all my attention needs to go to, right? So how Georgia generates TFLs. There's also an algorithm deal in this YouTube video that I am interested in seeing based on some of the other YouTube videos that I've done and some conversations that I've had with people, right? So how Georgia generates TFLs is part of the video as well, right? So as always, guys, remember to subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, like the video, don't like the video. If you think it's something that we've already done, it's repetitive, information you already know, thumbs down, that's great. I appreciate you watching. If you really like it and you like how to generate TFLs, or you think that there's ideas that you can use, thumbs up, all right? As always, turn your notifications on. You know, every time we do a video, every time we go on YouTube Live. Please check out, if you're in the football business or if you're in business in general, any of our companies that can provide help for you. If it's football specific, please check them out. If you're at the AFCA this weekend, I wish I could be there, but I was not. If you're at the AFCA, check those people out. Great people, great companies. They're really good for football and high school football programs. Or if it's an apparel deal and you want to promote your brand to your business, please check them out. They're really good to play fast football, but I also wouldn't represent them if I didn't believe in using and wearing their products, all right? So check out our sponsors, subscribe, like, notifications on, all the good stuff. Thanks for being here. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Back in the classroom. See you next time.